Good evening. Welcome to the Whatnot Podcast. It's Wednesday, 9 p.m. I'm MikeZ.
I'm Chris and Whatnot.
And this week we're going to be talking about storage. Yeah.
Everybody's got it and everybody needs it.
That's right. Yep. So one of the things that is different for every shop, different for every person, is organization and storage. Mine is organized chaos. I know where everything's at. It doesn't look good, but I know where it's at.
Mine's an ever-evolving pile. Sometimes the pile is over there. Sometimes the pile is over there. It depends on where I need to work.
Yeah, my wife always says I have a problem with a flat surface. If I find a flat surface, it piles up with stuff.
Maybe I should cut that off.
Way to be prepared.
We're live and everything. I mean, people who know me should know this by now.
Yeah, 6 episodes in. Told you eventually I'd get there.
Oh, we're getting there one episode at a time.
That's right. So if you haven't watched this before, thank you for joining us. And if you have, thank you again for joining us. I know John's in the comment section.
Always in the peanut gallery.
Always. He does some pretty cool work too. So let's see here. I know. I want to talk about this thing. And that's going to be Chris's blast gate that he custom made.
But that's not storage.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to storage. This is just basically talking about this because I think it's pretty cool.
Well, if you haven't been following me on any social, you wouldn't know, but I've completely revamped all of my dust collection, all of it. So it's no longer a bunch of 4-inch pipe. It's all 6 and 8 with some really cool blast gates from Clearview, a custom one over by the CNC, and so it's one more way to mess up my shop and keep things dusty and messy.
Well, you upgraded your dust storage system, so this kind of fits.
Drastically. But no, I needed something at the CNC that would be up at the ceiling, that it would also be effective, obviously, to keep airflow. And I don't know, I probably watched, if it was less than 40 videos on dust collection fittings and blast gates, that's a small number. It had to be at least that. So I took all of the thousands of hours of videos that I watched, some that I skimmed, and just took all those designs and kind of mashed it up into what I thought would work best for me. So, and that was the culmination. Half-inch Baltic.
Go ahead.
I was going to say half-inch Baltic birch, made the whole thing, laid it all out in the Vectric software, designed it out, and cut it out on the CNC. Could have done it by hand, but where's the fun in that?
Well, sometimes CNC is real woodworking.
Yeah. So I'm probably going to affix some eye hooks or something on the ceiling and move those paracord cable lines to the other side, closer to that bracket that holds the garage door up. But for now, it's up, and I don't want to do all that until I get the downspout installed on the other side.
Okay. So red means no.
Stop, Michael. Stop.
Oh, sorry. And green means go.
Yeah, I just wanted to color code it, even though obviously if I look up and I don't see the hole, then I'll know that it's shut off. If I see the hole, vice versa. You get the idea.
So why did you color coordinate your paracord exactly? The hole didn't give it away?
Yeah, but I mean, I figured, if I'm lazy and don't feel like looking up, at least I can just grab a color, stop the airflow. I pull the red. If I want to turn it on, I just pull the green. Sometimes it's laziness to look up at the ceiling.
I was thinking if, someone came out in the shop like your wife or something like that and be like, hey, can you pull the red one? Done.
Yeah.
Said, hey, can you pull that cord? And just kind of looking at it like there's two. Which one do you want me to pull? Then you know how that ordeal goes.
Yeah. I plan on making a live or filming or on air or some kind of a LED sign that mounts on the outside of my garage above the side door, and I can just flip that switch.
One came out in the shop like your wife or something like that and be like, hey, sorry about that.
Where'd that come from?
I decided I was going to like and try to comment from the Facebook page, and that didn't work out.
Oh, let's see. Nice job.
So Kyle's here.
Wait a minute. Are we getting Kyle here and who's in Hawaii? Holy cow.
He can make it on time in Hawaii because it's 6 hours behind.
Wow. He's getting up enjoying breakfast or something. I don't know. Well, man, we appreciate that. I know one thing. If I was on holiday in Hawaii,
you'd be sitting watching the Whatnot podcast. I know, me too.
Yeah. So anyway, but no, I'm going to wire it to my lights. So anytime my lights are on, automatically the on-air sign's going to be lit, so nobody will come in and bother me.
You know, that's not a bad idea.
Anyway, that's my thought on it.
It's a good one. Just trying to see. So where should we start with your storage stuff?
I don't know. I thought we were going to start with your little cup of antique caster hardware that you couldn't seem to get tip over.
That was fun, though. It really was. It was aggravating because I had to pick it up every time, but that was fun. Yeah, that was the best part. Was with that one is that time that the cup was just sitting there. I mean, it was. I looked at it like really because I cut a lot of that out, but I know I said really because I looked at it like come on, and I put my finger up to it to touch it, and it just fell over. I was like, yep, that's perfect. That's the way these go. So now, if you ever watch television and they have a whole bunch of stuff that just comes out of a closet, I give those people a lot of credit for putting that and setting that up. Because that's a lot of stuff. If that doesn't go right, they got to set it all back up.
Well, what they do is that you don't realize there's people on the back side of the closet ready to dump it whenever they open the door.
Yeah, you definitely see that whenever there's sometimes when it's a little over the top. Mm-hmm. But just to set it up against the door when they open it, that's always pretty good. It's 3 p.m. here watching the waves.
Well, we can watch these waves too.
Good old Kyle.
Some nice pictures I've seen from his little hikes and stuff.
Cool.
His hikes and whatnot.
He's a whatnotter in Hawaii. Oh,
spread the word.
Yeah, no, right. Tell the locals. I'm going to start here because I think this is nice. And this is Kaizen foam.
That is Kaizen, and you wouldn't know it by looking at it, but originally it was nice and clean and laid out. It just happens to be the drawer that's right above where I do a lot of my sanding. And, well, you can see what happens. So
you get a little dust in there.
A little bit, but, I didn't want to break the cases open because I like to sometimes have to grab a case and go if I'm going to go install something or if I need to go do something else. Mm-hmm. And it just enables me to just grab the whole case. But those other bits are primarily bits for here. So I keep those sort of standing up.
Now, I like what you did with labeling what the blue boxes were. Is that Silver Sharpie?
It is. Yeah, because I wanted to be able to know as I was digging in there what exactly I was grabbing, because sometimes those, even if they don't label them, stupid cobalt drill driver boxes.
I think I have a picture of some of them. I have one that's, a lot of the DeWalt ones look the same. So you have to open it up, see what's inside. Luckily, I started going to Craftsman for a lot of the bits. They seem to last longer anyways, except for the impact. I haven't tried those. But they're at least clear lids, so I can look and see what's inside of them. But all the DeWalt ones I have to label on the outside.
Well, eventually that drawer is going to disappear and those bits are going to go somewhere else, but where they are for now.
Now, the most handy tool in there, what do you think it is? What's your favorite out of all the drilling accessories? Because you have a couple.
Probably the thing at the eraser. Not at the thing if you follow the pencil eraser and go up a little bit, that looks like the one at the pencil eraser. That's the Nomar. That is an amazing bit. And I didn't think I would like them as good, but those spade bits on the far right, those, I can't remember the brand, but oh my gosh, those things are just amazing.
They will
go through that's what it is, spider. They go through a 2x4 like nothing, and until the tip comes out of the other end, because it's actually got like a little thread on it that pulls the bit into the wood.
Oh,
So you
nice.
don't even have to put any pressure to it. But once the bit comes out on the other end, it kind of just really slows down and stops, which is both good and bad. If you're trying to make a clean cut on both sides, it's fantastic. If you want to just plunge on through to you know complete the cut, it's a
Yeah,
little
but
bad. But
that's actually kind of nice as far. I mean, I know it's a little sidetrack of the storage thing, but if you have a spade bit, because that's usually everyone pushes down on the drill, it's going to wear the drill out faster, the battery out faster. So having it pull through, that's nice. My favorite out of that drawer so far, I mean, other than the Nomar, I don't have that. The Vix bits are helpful, but I like the DeWalt right angle by far.
mm-hmm.
That is the best I've ever used out of any of them. It's like $25
Yeah, I've used a couple different ones. That was like I think probably the third or fourth one I've owned, not DeWalt, but just that style.
in general. Yeah.
And I opted to pay a little higher for the better price. I figure for the price of that, it better be good.
Yep.
So there's the end of that spider. So you can see it's got like a thread tip on it. Put it in something.
That is cool.
But eats through stuff like butter.
All right, so we'll jump off there's just so much you can be had in a drill drawer. I do like how you labeled wood for your flat bits, the ones that aren't brad points.
Yeah, those are some old ones. I really debated whether to keep them or not because they're just old. And but I said, nah, what else am I going to put there? So
You know, there's always that time where you have a bit and you need to drill something. And you're like, I don't really want to use the nice ones.
yeah, that's it.
The credenza.
That is not my bedroom.
I mean, hey, if you're someone who lives in a 2-car garage with your shop, there's nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, furniture can be useful.
And don't laugh at the two weird knob looking things at the bottom that don't match any of the other hardware.
I've
That's the way I
never
bought
seen
it.
that before on used furniture or anyone's furniture brought to the house. Never.
Yeah, I'm sure.
That's 100% unoriginal.
Yeah, I got that at the not the thrift store. What is it? The
Habitat.
Habitat store. Yeah, I was gonna build a whole bench for the miter station, and for what that cost me,
It'll
I
make
couldn't even
you.
have thought about buying enough materials to do that.
And in retrospect, looking at the age of that, the 4 legs in the front are all the way to the top. So that is very
Yep,
solid.
it is. I've actually stood on that multiple times because where it's at, I've got it pulled away from the wall about 9 inches,
Mm-hmm.
and I have a plywood sort of bridge, if you will, going from that top back to the studs, and in between the studs, I kind of took the time to lay it out because I needed to make that gap so I could get some dust collection behind it. So.
Nope. I had a small type of buffet looking thing like that. And then I had something else. I had both of them in there in the shop, and then I got rid of them for space and just, I was storing like old paint that I wasn't using. So when they have that paint drive where you take your paint down and they'll take care of it for you, I was like, yeah, these things can go. Oh, let's talk about this new invention of yours.
Yeah, that's sort of phase one of abrasive storage. I've got a couple design plans running around in my head for the discs and the belts, but I wanted something to be able to store my rolls, and so kind of thought, and that's kind of what I came up with. Each of those arms is independent, and they raise up, so you can remove one roll without, having to take them all off, like I've seen on some of those paper towel roller holder things.
Yep.
But works pretty good, and I was debating on how to label the front. I didn't want it to be permanent in case I decided to change grit ranges or anything like that. So I thought, well, those little labels come right on the package, so I kind of repurposed them.
There you go. It's always a good idea to repurpose the label that comes on your abrasive package, especially if you buy Klingspor abrasives.
Yeah,
Or where is it?
yeah. Not sponsored.
Took me a second there. Geez, slacking of old age. No,
Well,
so that's actually really nice though. And I noticed you didn't skip more than one grit in your sequence.
that's correct. I did it proper. But the way I designed that was on intentionally rolling that up from the bottom because sometimes I don't know what grit I'm getting. And if I don't want to look at the time, I didn't have plan on doing the label, but that way I can see the grit on the back and see the grain to kind of help me decide exactly which grit's going to be ideal for whatever I'm pulling it off for.
Okay,
So,
but then I guess the question would be is that when you go to tear off the amount that you need, aren't you lifting up on it? Like on the whole assembly that holds it all together?
if you press down on the top bar, you can use the back. But actually, what I've been doing instead of that was actually pulling off enough, and then whatever the distance is between my two fingers, resting on the against the face of it, and I just tear it because that particular material is so flexible and tears so easy.
Yeah.
That leaves me the perfect amount sticking out for the next time I need it.
Oh, cool.
So I played around with different ideas and opted to just not put anything else on the front, just go with that. So far, I've been happy with it. I left it open to modification should I need to. But
so you're going to be having something for discs and belts coming up eventually?
Yep.
I hear you. So if you don't know, and I explain this whenever Chris and I do trainings, I store all of mine in a plastic bag in the closet. All my belts, I should say. So that's not very good storage, but at the same time, they last. I've got some that are 8 years old and they're not breaking when I use them. So that's all that matters to me. So this is pretty.
Yeah, it's hard to tell exactly what that is unless you kind of see a bigger photo, but that is the swivel bar for my plywood rack. That is the back of my plywood rack.
I see the swivel bar there at the end on the left-hand side.
Yeah, there you go. But I designed that with a cavity behind it for storage of small parts and things like that. But I've had it full of MDF, and it's still swiveled out. So
let's see if I
surprising
have it.
Surprising it hasn't fallen apart yet.
So basically, it's an entire cart that cantilevers out from the wall at an angle. So one part's fixed.
Correct. That right hand side is what's swiveled to the wall, and then the left hand side swings out. And what you can't see in the photo is my garage door is directly left of that image. So if I swivel that out when I'm unloading plywood from out in the driveway, I can literally bring it right in and throw it right in the cart, and I don't have to carry it around the shop and navigate around tools or other stuff. I did it that way intentionally, and so far that's been fantastic. So
now, when you first did it, I thought it was a little crazy, and then I understood what you were doing afterwards. Being able to slide it in to where, once it's locked in, then you can handle all the plywood, put it in there. It's not rolling, it's not moving, just like you would if you put it up against a wall. But then to be able to have it roll out was really cool.
Well, and if you go back to that image, there's a bar running perfectly up and down, and originally that was just there to prevent wood from coming forward, and then that's really what it's there for. But that little weird shelf looking thing in the middle, that serves a purpose too. That's actually the same height as my table for my miter station. So if I'm cutting off 8-foot boards and I'm only trying to trim off a couple inches, I could feed that whole board out to the left and have full support.
That's funny. I like that. And the only reason it's funny is because I did something very similar with the wood rack I put next to the miter saw. I used that Bora system that hangs on the wall. And so the bar sticks out and the shelf stops here. And so therefore you have like this extra 2 or 4 inches, depending on what shelf it is. But I can put a piece of wood that's perfectly in line with my chop saw.
Yeah. And I caught myself actually sort of leaning on it, standing on it one day when I was putting up my Bora wood rack. And I was like, well, let's don't destroy this because I kind of need this part here. So I didn't build that one for weight rating. So
at least
got back on the ladder.
So now we're into the regular router bits drawer.
That is a cabinet I built on the right hand side of my table saw. I have had that since 2000. Literally built. That was the first project I built with the table saw, and I built it mostly out of scraps. And I did, if I would have backed up just a little bit, there, that little lip sticks out, keeps dust from out of there. But there's also a little pocket in there to throw pencils and set up bars and stuff like that. That's become kind of a cluttered mess. I'm in the process now of, once I get a couple other shop projects done, I'm going to rip that out and turn that into a full extension drawer system so that it actually will pull out towards the in-feed part of the table saw instead of having to go to the side, because my joiner sits over there, and that'll enable me to do a whole lot more stuff. So
I just have to make one comment on that. It's way more organized than mine. That's all. Wasn't much.
Well, it's turned out to be a nice place to put some of the little weird hardware and stuff that goes with some of the, like, miter stuff, not the miter, but the miter gauge and some of the other fixture pieces that I have. So it's been a good place to sort of store some of that stuff. So,
and then the updated CNC Tool Drawer.
Yeah, that's a little nicer. I couldn't afford the Axiom toolbox, so that was my solution. And then when I upgraded to the Elite, the top drawer did go all the way across. When I upgraded to the Elite, the control box was considerably taller, almost to the point where I almost nixed that top drawer. And I just said, you know what? I'm going to put something in there. So that's where I house my vernier caliper.
Now that one looks different from this caliper over here. Is this your old one?
That one was an old one that had stopped working even when I replaced the battery. And I still used it from time to time, with even though I wasn't, didn't have a measurement on it, but I wanted something at the CNC where I didn't have to go hunt for it.
No, and you want the one that works at the CNC.
Yeah. So I spend more time over there anyway, so that kind of worked out.
There you go. So this one here is the old blast gate system?
That was what I temporarily put up, just so I could run a couple projects that needed to get ran. That you can see the PVC at the top, but I didn't take a photograph for the blast gate. That is the 13-foot lumber rack above it. And then there's a short 7-foot lumber rack above that. And no, I didn't remove my sheetrock so I could put a lumber rack in. For some reason, the previous homeowner took that out, and I wish I would have patched that in before I did any of this other stuff.
Is it a little warm in there today?
Yes. It was 92 when I got here at 6 o'clock. And I had the air conditioner and the fan blasting. It's 79 at the moment because I've had to cut everything off.
That's better than 92.
Yeah. But if I would have had to leave everything on, we couldn't have had this conversation.
That's true. No, I get that. They do make Wi-Fi controllers now that you could control from your phone, turn on, like, say 4 o'clock. So that way when you get home, it's all ready to go.
Well, funny thing is, this is one that it actually has a timer on it. I just haven't sat down and figured out how to make it work.
Isn't that an Amana product?
It is, just not the Amana I'm generally a fan of.
Oh, gotcha. Moving on. And then, of course, your spare CNC cutout rack.
Yeah, that's all MDF up there. And the only reason I included it is because when you're trying to create storage, it's crucial to utilize every single part of that. And that shelf, when I raise the door up, the reason that shelf is as high as it is so that top panel will clear when it hits the radius. The other panels clear no problem. It's that top one that's a booger. And that clears by about a half of an inch.
Yep.
So I said, well, it's storage area. It's stuff I want. So that's where I'm going to put it.
And actually, that's a really good point, that if you're putting anything above the garage doors, that top panel, it angles differently than the rest of them. And so therefore, if you always make sure that is the priority of where that's going to be, because if you don't think about it before you make a shelf or hang a rack, for instance, you go through all that trouble, and then you go to open the garage door. This wasn't picking on you, I promise. This is something I do too. But if you do that,
it's turned into picking on me, though, haven't it?
well, I mean, there's a slight remembrance there, yeah. But at the same time, when you open it up and then realize your garage door won't open, check that first.
Yeah. You can't just trust it.
No.
You don't believe me? Go watch my ceiling rack video.
I don't see all the photos. Hold on. I know I'm missing something here. Yeah, that's what I'm missing. Sorry, I didn't upload all of mine yet, apparently. Must have gotten sidetracked. Let me go ahead and do that real quick.
I can imagine that.
I know. And this episode of Whatnot Podcast is brought to you by Cheer Wine. Cheer Wine, the official drink of the South.
I don't see one out tonight.
Shh, quiet time. All right, so the genius that I am forgot to go landscape, so I apologize to everyone. This is portrait mode, but this shelf was here when my wife originally got this house. It's in the basement. My shop, I should take a picture of the whole thing. It's a single car garage type, like lawnmower storage in the basement. So I have to utilize every inch down there to make sure that I'm using it, because there's a lot of stuff. So I really liked it because it was a very simple hack together kind of shelf or storage cabinet. I decided I like magnetic strips, and so I put a lot of magnetic strips everywhere, wherever I can hang something to take care of space. What's really hard to see, and I should have gotten up close pictures, in the upper right hand corner below the orange Black & Decker trimmers. That's how I store my Forstner bits. I actually drill the hole into the top of it, and then I slide, because they're all the same shaft for the most part. They're all, 3/8. So I stick them all in there, and I keep them in size of importance rather than size of size, because the top 3 are off to the right of that picture, and then these 3 are just kind of left over for other projects here and there. But I do label them. But what's inside that is just a hodgepodge of everything. So I didn't take pictures of the openness, because you saw them all in the promo.
Yeah, and if you didn't, go find the promo.
It's well worth it. So just to the right of that is this weird little makeshift thing. There was this window. The window doesn't work. It's so old. You can't find a good window to replace it as far as the size goes. All the companies wanting $300. I cannot justify that. So instead, I just basically built 2x4s up, and then eventually that will become covered over. I drink coffee, so the Folgers cans are absolutely great for storing just random stuff. When you're doing furniture, you get a lot of random things, as you can see from that. All those casters. Yeah, they're fantastic. The lids, they lock together, they stack really well. I mean, it would be better if they were the metal ones. They've kind of discontinued the steel ones. Those were my favorite, because they work great for stain too in a pinch.
They're not OSHA approved.
Very OSHA approved. Right at the very top in the shadows here, above those Folgers, next to the Folgers, that's my skill saw, the Bosch circular saw. I have the blade hanging off the side. That's where I store that, just so it's up out of the way. Kids don't get a hold of it, because it's battery powered. And then I like the tape. There's you see a light blue brush that's actually on a magnetic strip. So I hang all the brushes up off the magnetic strip, so the bristles stay nice and limber. They don't get a memory of sitting in something. I don't lay them down on the workbench. I like to hang them up, let them naturally dry, and the bristles stay where I want them to be later. But I like to hang the tape. This used to be the spray gun kind of hanging area, and I found out that I like the tape up there better. So all the different sizes tapes go up there. But as you can tell, this is all basically just your wrenches. Everything's all magnetic here. And then the crap chisels, because you have to have a good set and a bad set. Mm-hmm. All my crap chisels go on the magnetic one.
Is that disk storage to the right there?
It is. And in this picture here, I got a little up close. That is the disk storage. Those are the best way I can put it. Those are the ones that are my favorite as far as, with Klingspor, there's a ton of different materials. So they're my favorite in each grit range. And I even have fusion foam on the very top in 220. This little wall sticking out, the shelf that I got is actually a welder's type of table, and then they put some wood on top. So I actually use that because it being metal, it holds all of the paint underneath. I should have taken a picture of that. Completely didn't think about it. All of my hammers are stored here normally if they're there. I have rubber mallets, the double-sided rubber, an antique hammer, and each hammer has its own purpose. Let's see what else is there. And then, of course, all of the bits that are oddly used, I keep on that magnetic strip.
It's about $500 worth of 2x4s there.
Yeah, there's a lot of money invested in this. Luckily, I bought it before the market exploded. And then let's see. So the same white cabinet to the left of that is my little lawn battery charging storage area. I use the side of the cabinet, mounted the chargers, have a strip at the top. So basically all the different chargers in the shop are right there. Turn it on, plug everything in, good to go. And then I can turn it off at night. And then I decided this is going to get something a little bit better. I had 5 minutes and it was like, hey, throw this together. So the sewage pipe is right there to the left. I put a piece of alder from the top of the ceiling, mounted it all the way to the bottom, wrapped it around the pipe. It's cast iron, so if it ever needs to come out, this can easily be removed. And then the dryer vent's right above that. Because, small car garage. Got to make do.
I'm with you.
This bad boy. So Southern Ginger Workshop had these plans, and I bought them. And I kind of threw it together with scraps. As you can tell, the parts that hold the drills up are not the same wood that's holding that part up. So I just basically said, hey, I got this scrap. Let me rip it to this size and then cut it to length. I like the shelf aspect of it. I kind of wish I had measured the drill because you can tell you can't put anything underneath the drill. It's like perfect for the drill, but if you have anything on that shelf, it's not going to work. Chargers are up there, and then I keep my antique, the one antique plane that I really like. I keep that up top so I know I won't accidentally knock it off. Let's see here.
And that's a magnetic strip on the front?
Yes, it is. That's another magnetic strip. This one with an antique screwdriver, and then this one has all of the very odd I never use, but if I ever lose, I'll be disappointed. There's even a 10 millimeter socket on here. This is that shelf that, I don't use this as much as I use the other one, which is a lot smaller. But this here, they had whoever built the house, when they did the basement, they had the idea that they were going to use it for something. So they put 1x2s all along the masonry wall, attached them to the joists, the floor joists. And so therefore you can see that there's masonry right behind that. That's where the chimney is. So I kind of can put things on this, but I have to be careful with the weight. And then so next to that little station's the chop saw with all my scraps underneath it. And we did that in episode 1, I believe. No, 3. So here's my hodgepodge of sandpaper. I'm working on a solution because, it's not that great. Coca-Cola crates, by the way, if you ever get a hold of them, they work good for turning tools because they can handle a lot of weight. So all of my turning stuff's in the Coca-Cola. The box up top of that is your chargers, and for whatever reason, like your car chargers whenever you go for a long trip. And then all my specialty finishes across the top there, mostly all aerosol cans, and then quartz below that. And there is a big jug of Rubio Monocoat sitting right there, unopened, never used. So if you know anyone who's looking for some, let's see what else. Oh, and then the original black spray can. And that box right there was stuff that was hodgepodged that when I was cleaning up those 2 cabinets, this was all just stuff in there. So I put it all in this box because that's what you do, right? And so for our house here, we used to have in the basement just literally a hodgepodge of whenever you went to a yard sale and they had a nice bucket, or a tub, and it was, $5, came with a lid, a matching lid. So we had that for years. And then finally I got my wife to break down and get one of these sets. I think it was $250 with the totes, with the shelf mounted to the wall, all organized. I think it's 300 pounds per shelf. And so this is where we took and put, Valentine's Day stuff, snow stuff, Easter stuff, birthday stuff. So everything's in here. And at the very bottom, I got one tub out of all this, by the way. My idea, but I got one tub.
Look
All
at
my
you.
generator and emergency supplies are in one tub. So now all that's organized.
Did she put it on the bottom?
Yes.
You're the tall guy. Why didn't she put it on top?
Because it's the heaviest. I didn't want it to.
Oh,
Even though it's mounted to the wall, still, if the kids were trying to get something off because of those lips, they're made to stack. But I did figure out that when you're trying to pull one off because of those little, I don't know what you call it, but the way they make them stack, they actually will pull a tub off if you're not paying attention. So the last thing I want, because that thing's got oil in it for chainsaws and stuff like that. Like, it's emergency stuff that, when the power's out and you're thinking about it, like, I gotta cut this tree branch or whatever, clear the road. Where's the oil? I put it all in the emergency tub. That way I could just throw it in the truck and go. I don't have to think about it. So that's kind of the storage solutions that I have. Not the best. They're getting there.
Well, it's got to start somewhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the thing. And every time I turn around, I'm always revamping it. So that's why it'll never be finished. I already know this. But it's getting a lot better than it was, because before it was just sprawled out everywhere. So now I know even better where it's at.
Yeah, my first storage solution is going to happen back here.
You going to redo the wall, or are you just not going to use your banner to cover up all your sandpaper? That's what I need to do, is get a banner over all that sandpaper like you.
Well, it just takes up too much space. And so, being left in the boxes. And when I built that nook, it wasn't built for that. It was made for just random tool storage and stuff. But now it's turned out to be the place behind where I do all my sanding. So it's kind of need to do something with it. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to tear it all apart and redo the shelf. I know I need to replace the top. The previous owner had built that 2x4 frame and put a piece of plywood on there. Well, I think he did a lot of mechanic work on that plywood bench. So there's a big giant oil spot where it's just literally deteriorated the plywood. So
Gotta take care of that.
Need to replace that, but I want to turn the whole front section of that into drawers and doors, so it's kind of closed up a little better. And then I'll put a new top on it and then work on the little bookshelf thing.
Yeah, I definitely have regrets and kick myself for not buying plywood sooner, even though I may not use it at that time, because now having a cabinet per se to hide all this stuff is out of the question.
Well, I've got a sheet and a half. No, I went back and bought another one. I have 2 sheets of the same Baltic birch that I made my box to sit my dust collector on. So I'm planning on utilizing that for some of that. I just got to figure out and justify what priority.
It's already pre-finished, right?
It is pre-finished on both sides.
So definitely use that for doors and drawer fronts, and then use whatever's cheapest at the time and unfinished for the inside of the cabinets, because there's no sense in taking that nicely pre-finished stuff and just hiding it.
Yeah. Well, the thing about the shelf back here is the shelf spacing isn't ideal for what it's being used for. So I got to figure out how I'm going to solve that. But storage there and storage over by the miter saw, because I pulled that dresser out so far, it's a little tough to reach back and get anything over a certain height because of how far back it is. So I'm going to build basically some cabinets over there too, but it's about time and priorities. Figure out what's most important.
So will you be sharing that on your Instagram?
I feel confident that it will find its way.
So if you want to follow Chris on his Instagram, it is Chris Cross Crafts, but it's not Christ Cross Crafts, is it?
So you can praise it however you want to. That's the cool thing about it.
Okay. Just making sure I don't get it wrong for those who aren't watching. Instead
crisscross with a T in the middle. I mean, yeah.
If you put
it makes me want to jump.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you put crisscross crafts, you may have to put on your clothes backwards. You can find us at facebook.com whatnot podcast. If you're already watching it, thank you so much for joining us again. You can find me, Duff Style One, on Instagram. It's pretty much where I post everything. I don't know. People have been talking about getting on TikTok. I'll one day, maybe. I know you're a fan of it. I just, not yet. Oh, that's the wrong thing.
It's a black hole that'll just
If you want to
consume your
see,
life.
yeah, it is. If you want to see where we work on our day jobs, woodworkingshop.com. Accidentally have that in the wrong folder. My apologies.
Not sponsored.
Yeah, I was going to say totally not sponsored. And then for Kyle, Eli, he is the learnyourcnc.com. I got to get John's information because those two guys are constantly, backing us up and watching the show. So I got to make sure I put both of their social channels out there. But for sure, if you're interested in anything CNC, want to learn the software, and it's Vectric, right?
Mm-hmm.
Vectric Aspire. Okay. Then definitely check out learnyourcnc.com. That is 100% not sponsored. Cal's just an awesome dude.
And got a great program.
Yeah. And what you had someone that actually signed, just real quick side note, sorry, we're not fanboying Kyle, but you did have someone sign up for his master class. And what were their take on it?
They were impressed. And as a matter of fact, I think there's a school system that is in the process now of potentially looking into it. But I know that one of the teachers did. That's why the school system is looking into it.
Very cool.
So, hello.
Hey, don't let that fall too far now. Okay, let's see. I think we should have a little bit of fun with in July. We've got a lot coming up. We had talked about 2 weeks ago. I think we should figure out something to do podcast wise where it's like behind the scenes of as we do the show. I think that'd be kind of fun. So we'll figure that out.
As we do what show?
As we do either the AAW, which by the way, day job, or we do the CTE program, which is also day job related. But we've got they're back to back, so it'd be kind of interesting to see how everything goes behind the scenes for you. If you want to find out more, you can just watch and see what happens. It probably won't be a 9 p.m. thing, but we'll find out what we can do.
Yeah.
So okay. I hope. So I will say that purchasing certain things that you regret that were storage related. What do you have? Because obviously we're not going to take pictures of that. We didn't think of it. But is there anything you purchased that was storage related that you're like, it just didn't work for me?
Yeah. They're cheap black plastic shelves. And that you think, okay, they're going to be good enough to hold just random stuff. And after the first week, the shelves do this. And, they're the standard 4 or 5 feet tall. But after the first week, the shelves do this. And it's so wobbly that nothing really stays on there because if you set it on the end, it wants to slide to the center where everything's bowed now. I've got one of those sitting out in the yard.
What's it doing in the yard? Just getting saggier? Because
I built storage out in my shed and threw it out and put good storage out there that I built. And it's been sitting up beside the shop on the little concrete pad now for, I don't know, a year and a half.
It's one thing I totally forgot about is that whenever we do trade show stuff, those metal racks, like in the service industry and restaurants, they have these metal racks. You get them at Sam's Club for like $100 or, 150, whatever they are. They're like 6 foot tall, 5 shelves. They have liners in them. I completely forgot about this, and now I wish I took a picture. So with the weather changing and getting hot, and I have to go in and out all the time from the basement to the spray area, I've started to put stuff on this shelf that's kind of my when I go to finish stuff I'm going to need. Because the problem with the shop setup is that you don't want to open that garage door and then let the basement get hot. So you'd rather go through the person door. The downside is like hold on, I'll show you this. 1 second. Okay. In this picture here, that's the masonry wall. Directly on the other side of that wall is the people door, but I got to walk all the way around the basement, around the chimney area where the masonry wall is, go through the other door to come through this. So I started doing was taking one of those metal racks, put the liners on it, and then just start loading it up with, the clear coat, the paints, the sealers, the stains, the rags, the brushes, everything. So therefore, whenever that time comes up on the project, I just walk in, grab it real quick, walk right back out. Because I told my wife, I probably spent 30 times easily a day just going into the shop to get some to come back out, to use it, to take it back into the shop to put it back. So I was like, why not just have something right there? And she didn't want to have like a shelf dedicated to it because a lot of times you use that for storage of furniture. So I figured out, well, if I use a rolling rack, then I can move it out of the way. Yeah. So that has actually started to be a game changer. I probably started using it maybe a month at the most. So I haven't really dialed it in yet, but I know this past weekend I used it a lot. It was like 90 degrees outside, and I'm really glad I didn't open the door more than I had to. Yep.
So it's about being lazy and coming up with creative ways to still get the job done, but faster.
Yep. My grandfather said it best. If you want to find the most efficient way to do something, you find the laziest guy on the job site. Now I'm starting to understand why he always asked me to do things, but I don't think it was a compliment. He's like, hey, Mike, how would you do this? I do it like this. Now, as I get older, I'm realizing, sucker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, storage is a premium in a shop or in a basement or garage or wherever your work area is, and it's important to stay as organized as possible, just so you know where everything goes and where everything's at. And I'm getting there. I'm not like my old shop teacher who had every tool out drawn with an outline of with a marker, so that if a hammer was gone, you knew where the hammer went and you knew which direction the claw and the head went.
Yeah, it went in a particular. No, I've been in those shops, and I feel like there's taking more time to do the cleanup of it, and there's nothing wrong with that. Don't get me wrong. I think Phil Penske is one of those guys that just has everything has a place and a place for everything. And cleanup time, to me, for that type of environment seems to take just as long as actually doing any work. So, yeah, I'm sloppier when it comes to that. And I can say that. That's no problem. But at the same time, if you have a shop that has a lot of people going in and out, like it's kind of a shared shop, a maker space, something along those lines, then that might not be so bad, because now you can have an accountability. Before the end of the day, you take a look at the wall real quick. Hey, that hammer's missing. Where's it at? Let's find it, put it back real quick. So I do see that benefit. Schools, especially, anything where you have a lot of hands in the shop, that may be a little bit more beneficial. But, like we said, storage is all up to you and what you want to do with it.
Now, there's been times I've pulled every small clamp I had off the wall, and when I went to put them back, I said, "No, wait a minute. How did I have those oriented again?" Because they go in a certain way where they fit. So there's been times where I was like, "Man, I should have marked that better." But
do you ever have those moments where, like, you think about it and you're like, "This would be perfect." You set it up, you come back, like, when you need it a month later or something, let's say, and you take it all down, you use it, and then when you go back to it, you're like, yeah, I don't remember how I did that. Like, it was perfect the first time I did it. I should have just left it, bought more clamps.
Yeah. Or drew
an outline,
body outline of it, so I knew where it died. So
I think the crappy shelves that sag are just a bad deal. But I know those little organizing cases that you can get. They're like $5 and they have multi-compartments, and you can take out the compartments and move the parts around and do all that. I've tried several of those, and I find that I don't move the compartments around that much. Like, it's good if you maybe have sewing equipment or something that's a little off, maybe air hose fitting, something along those lines. I can see that being. But once you set it up for that, what are you going to do with all the extra parts? And then if you change your mind and don't like that, want to change it, then all the extra parts are gone. So that was one I definitely spent way more money than I should have on those little things, and they didn't get nearly used as much. Plus, they're flimsy. Uh-oh. I always like it whenever Chris thinks of something midstream. Live stream.
This is poll the people time. I need a use for 8-inch PVC. I have quite a bit of it that I can't take back. So various sizes, plus a 10-foot stick out behind the shop of 8-inch PVC. So how can you help me? How can I utilize that 8-inch PVC for storage that's functional?
Put it back on your head again. I'm going to use this for a promo.
The bigger one?
Yes. Oh, hey, nice. Look at that. Can we paint it yellow and call Lance Armstrong? Never mind. That was a bad idea for a promo. Thanks so much for doing that, though. All right. So uses and ideas for 8-inch PVC. Small pieces. Decently low. What do you do with that?
I don't know. Ooh. I feel like it's one of those chef's hats. Like if I'm going to the hibachi place where I'm going to flip shrimp and catch it in my hat.
So I do know of something. I have a random thought here since we have a couple minutes left. I have gotten hooked on gardening with Leon. I literally 6 months ago could care less about growing something. My wife has really gotten into it, so therefore I'm taking an interest into it. That's how that works. And I'm happy to, though, because it's really cool. But he's just an older guy from Oklahoma, been doing this a long time. He's really fascinating in general. People have asked him to do a book, and he's just started doing a video book. Basically, he just starts talking about his life. But the one thing he came up with, and he's been doing gardening for a long time, sells a lot of plants, fertilizers, you name it, the whole 9 yards, is wicking tubs. And I'm thinking that 8-inch PVC in certain sizes like that, and then you could put a cap on top, would be a perfect reservoir for wicking tubs.
You know how much an 8-inch cap is?
Oh, I didn't say you had to use PVC cap. It don't matter.
Okay.
It could be plastic. It's just enough to make sure the water. So what it is that you would put those in the tub, put whatever on top of it, drill holes, and as you fill water in through a pipe, it'll fill up those areas, and then they're enclosed so they don't evaporate, and the plants can wick all of that up. It's really cool. He grows cucumbers with nothing but water and fertilizer. Okay, I'm learning. Scott says you can use it to put thin rip-off strips in.
Yeah, but you have to put it somewhere. So that's the problem.
Ooh, there was someone on YouTube, now that you say that, they took 4-inch, cut notches into it, and they stuck their drills into it as a drill station instead of just using wood.
4-inch, I have that's one of the plans that I have, but
8-inch, cut it in half.
This is ridiculous. It's ridiculous how big this stuff is. Or if anyone needs a 10-foot section of 8-inch pipe, I will make you a deal.
Not sponsored. Oh, well, that's been fun. That one actually, I had a lot of time, good time with this one. This is what we call the after show for all of our Patreons out there. This is the after show. We're going to give it to you for free today. So therefore you can see the chaos and monotony.
Our Patreons or our patronizers?
Well, both in most cases, yes.
But so, yeah, I'd love to see comments below. Give me your suggestion. If you've got pictures of how you've utilized 8-inch PVC, let me know. I've got a little bit of 6, and I got a couple ideas for that, for exactly what Scott just said he did. I already used some 4-inch I've got a series of a couple of different length of pipe that I keep dowels in. So, little short stumpy pieces go in the, little small piece, but, so I'm already utilizing some of the 4-inch, but I don't have enough room, Scott.
Mount it to the ceiling and then ha ha ha. Sorry, it's just one ha.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's no room on the ceiling to put that. That's my problem. So anyway.
Now you said it's 10 foot. You could actually store things in it that go outside that you don't have room for inside.
My ladder won't fit in there. I already tried.
No, I wasn't thinking the ladder necessarily. I know you use a smaller one than the rest of us. But my idea was
I need
more
a
of like,
long, taller router than most of you.
you need a taller ladder. Sorry. What about things like moldings or projects or something you're going to do? You'd have to buy the cap or something to cap it with. But if you had it, because it's weatherproof, which is nice about PVC. So if you needed to store certain things in there, that wouldn't be so bad.
Well, the only place I can store it is behind my shop where my wife can't see it.
Okay, gotcha. It's an eyesore.
Yeah.
You know,
And I do have a 12-foot shed that I could put it on the concrete pad behind the 12-foot shed and utilize it some there. But, you know, whatever I do, I know I'm going to want to put a cap on it because I certainly don't want, you know, bugs and varmints to make a home.
okay, so it comes back to the gardening thing again. How much is that? Like, how much would you sell it for? The 8-inch, 10-foot long.
If somebody wanted it, I'd make them a deal. I paid $176 for a 20-foot stick. I used 10 feet of it, almost, well, not quite 10 feet of it. So the 10-foot stick's going. The rest of these little small ones, I've got about 4 or 5 feet of this stuff left. And notice I've kept every size.
Well, now I'm gonna have to start Googling stuff. My thought process was that if you could mount, like when you said the shed, first thing I thought of was to mount it up to the shed to the gutter and then let it collect rainwater and be a storage tank. I know that sounds crazy, but people do it all the time with 55-gallon drums. But if you had, since it's 10 foot long, it would evenly distribute the weight across it. So if you wanted to mount it, you know, not necessarily under an eave, but you get the idea to where you could just catch rainwater with it, and then you could just feed the garden. Because with the drought we're currently starting to experience here in the southeast, I have to start thinking about water again. It's only been 10 years since our last one.
I don't have a garden anymore.
Just water in general.
And when I did, I never had to water it because I used about a foot layer of mulch and compost, and that was my soil.
That's right. It was easy to pull weeds too.
Never had to till, never had to struggle to pull weeds. You literally pinch them and they come right out.
Next week on Whatnot Podcast, Woodworking Podcast, we talk gardening.
Yeah. So anyway, I look forward to the suggestions that come down the line because, you know,
that's how it works. Well, leave your comments on the videos below. Let Chris know what you think.
And while you're commenting, post. I know you can't do it on YouTube, but on the Facebook side, post a comment of some of your unique storage. We love to see your stuff and get inspired. If nothing else, I'll steal your idea and give you credit for it.
Well, I think that's really the idea, is to steal the ideas from other people, because when it comes to storage, we're thinking one way, but someone else does something differently. And it's like, it gets your brain moving. It's like, oh, that's an interesting way of doing it. So definitely leave us a picture of how you do storages. The green thumb hour. Every 8 weeks we'll have a green thumb hour. Yeah. But no, leave us a comment, send us some pictures in, we'll post them. No problem. Or social medias. I mean, we'll load it up there. So never hurts.
Yeah. I mean, I'm one that, even if I think a set of plans or a design someone else has done is 100% the way I want to do it, I never build it that way. Because I think that if someone took the time to design it and build it to fit their need, then there's something that I can change to make it my own, even if it's something small. And that way it encourages me to think about process and how to do it. So if I'm going to create a storage thing, I may watch, 100 videos on sandpaper storage, and I'll say, well, I like this, but I don't like that. I like that, but I don't like that. And then I mash it up. That's how I wound up with the micro jig sled. I took all of the things that I loved about sleds and a couple of the things that I didn't, and made sure that they didn't get included, things that I wanted to do and thought maybe the sled could do it. So start creating storage, you just don't be afraid to go outside. But man, 8-inch pipe is killing me.
Well, if you think about it, if you walk out to the shop and you have that moment of just, there's no inspiration, there's no drive, like you're just like, what am I going to do? I want to do something, but I don't know what I can do. Take a look at any area that requires some sort of organization or storage, and I'm sure you can find a quick project in there. Usually these don't take more than a day. Usually they're a couple hours from start to finish. And you're in, and there's a sense of accomplishment when you're done. And if you come back 6 months later and realize it's not working for you, there's nothing wrong with that. Revamp it. That's exactly how I am. I'll think of it. I'll do the same thing you do, Chris, as far as, research and just watch some videos and get some inspiration on it and say, hey, I like that part. Don't like that part. I put it to use when you're actually using it. That's when you realize maybe that's not going to work. I don't like this part of how I thought it would be better. So happens all the time.
Yeah. I even thought about, those little bucket ball stackable things. I thought about taking a piece of plywood and cutting it the perfect size to fit in here, putting a little organizer tray, and then making another tray that would sit on top of it. And so I'd have a bottom, then I would have a couple of stackable trays to store nuts and bolts and washers or whatever it is I may want. And then all I got to do is just pull out the tray. But then I thought, you know what, I'm going to be too lazy and decide never to put anything on the bottom, because I did that when I had a bucket ball system like that. So
that was next. Well, good times. Well, thank you again for joining us for the Whatnot Podcast, Wednesdays, 9 p.m., Facebook and YouTube. I am MikeZ.
Hey, you know what? I'm Chris, and we won't see you, but you guys have a great Memorial Day weekend.
That's right. Enjoy it.
Go to Hawaii, enjoy the surf and the sand and the weather. Oh, wait, Kyle already is.
Suckers. Don't buy milk. It's too expensive.
But we do appreciate you watching.
Thank you so much, and we'll see you all next week.